Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Women Warriors, where we are learning to stay connected to Christ. I'm your host, Dominique, and we're back again. A lot of things have been happening, but we're staying planted regardless. And so we're just going to go ahead and start the episode off. So today we're going to be talking about, just thanking God that we are in our right minds. And if we are not in our right minds, getting a little education on who God is pertaining to our right mind. Because those two things they have to coexist. To be able to have a right mind is to know God and to know his purpose and his plan for your life. And so, just going right in, I picked Psalms 121 as the scripture because, from my perspective, it reminds me of who God is as it pertains to my right mind. The justification I have for being in my right mind is all about who God is. And so, this is the reason that I chose Psalms 121. So, it's not very long, so we're just going to go ahead and. Oh no, I lost my place. We're just going to read the whole thing. Okay, Psalms 121. I will lift up my eyes to the hills from whence comes my help. My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He will not allow your foot to be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve you from all evil. He shall preserve your soul. The Lord shall preserve your going out and your coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. And so that reminds me of who God is and the reason why we have to, first of all, being in your right mind is something you have to fight for. You're not just in your right mind because, of course, things happen in life that challenge our right mind, and it is meant to test our right mind. And so I'm pretty sure that we can all attest to maybe having been through or going through things right now that are meant to test or challenge your right mind. And so being in your right mind is, functional. Like you're not battling anxiety, you're not battling depression, you're not battling sickness, just even if it's just unfortunate circumstances in life. But you don't have so much fight with battling those things is what we would typically consider being in our right mind. But I'm not gonna get ahead. So today I'm reminded of all of the times that it was so necessary for me to go through the things that I was going through. And maybe I didn't see it then, but I'm learning more now to pay attention to why we go through certain things. A lot of things that we go through that challenge us mentally, that they're meant to do just that. But I have learned that when those tests and trials do come, it's for us to obtain wisdom. Yes, it does challenge your sanity, but you also, if you can trust God and you can seek Him, you can go through certain things and really come out on the other side with a changed way of thinking that is not conformed to the ways of the world. And so, again, it just reminded me of who God is pertaining to my situation personally. Um, and so it also reminds me that He is our keeper. How even though sometimes there are people that are battling sickness and there are people that battle depression and anxiety. I know even my daughter was telling me that she has some struggles with anxiety. Even though we battle all of those things, people battling with sin is another thing that can mess with your mind as well. So even though we're battling all of these things, um, and they try to plague our mind and our souls and just try to get you really off course mentally, it's so beautiful how there's a reminder in Psalms 121 that he preserves our souls. It's just so beautiful to me that that's like confirmation of who God is in our lives. And so what I'm really getting at is the more that I'm thanking God that I'm in my right mind, because I've learned that the right mind comes through seeking him. It doesn't come through trying to fight your battles by yourself. That is 100% a way to not be in your right mind, is to try to fight battles by yourself, or at a certain point to try to do things in your own strength. There are certain levels of life that I am experiencing where I don't really know what I'm doing, for lack of a better way to say that. Like, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. And so I have to rely on God for solution. I have to rely on him to help me to stay in my right mind. It's just amazing to me, just looking back on all the times that the enemy would think that he has us. And, sometimes we agree. We think that too, because the tests and trials of life, because of the way things look in the natural, sometimes there are people that believe that, well, yeah, he's actually kind of winning, you know. But the power of God, comes and changes your mind. When you seek him, say like you are, for myself, it was like battling sickness. And so even though when I was sick, the devil tried to plague my mind with thoughts of suicide, with heavy thoughts of depression, that was a hard thing to fight. Just the anxiety of not knowing, what the next month was going to look like, or the next, forget the next month, the next day. Just so many things that he tried to plague my mind with, like evil thoughts. Just so many things that I can remember when I was going through my own personal sickness. I can remember that the enemy tried to use against me. And so thinking about that then, also just battling depression and anxiety in general, because I know that's like a popular thing with our generation and even many before us. I know that anxiety and depression is a thing that people talk about, but not too much. And so for myself in that journey, I am reminded that even though I battled with those thoughts and those feelings and those emotions, it was good that I was afflicted then, because it taught me so much in this season of my life about fighting the spirit of depression or fighting the spirit of anxiety. And so it then again reminds me that the Lord is my keeper. He is preserving my soul, He is preserving my mind. And so that is one thing that helps me to remember, when I'm thinking of Psalms 121, that helps me to remember, no, I know the creator. I know the person that is helping my mind to be changed. I know the person that I know who is doing all of the work within me. And so because I know him, and I can't say that I know everything about God, but I know him well enough to know that he is not a man that would lie. So when he says that he is our keeper, he really means that he is our keeper. There's so many circumstances that we've been through that prove that, like both you and I, everybody, there's so many situations that we've all been through that proves that he is indeed our keeper. He has kept us through many of tests and trials and situations, even times that we've placed ourselves in compromising situations, or in situations where we're just sinning for a really long time. Even in those situations, it's so beautiful how he is yet and still our keeper. He still keeps us and preserves our minds. And so, you know, I'm also thinking, like, when I was thinking about being in my right mind, I did get to thinking, like, what is my right mind? Because I've been seeing a lot of just random things about people saying, like, and it's mostly older people that I've ever heard it from, but now I'm hearing it more recent, is thank God that I'm in my right mind. And I was like, yeah, that's good. Like, thank you, God, that I am in my right mind. But then I got to thinking and I was like, but what is our right mind? And so then I was thinking, like, I was asking God that, like, God, what is our right mind? Because sometimes we can think that we are in our right mind, but we're really not. And so then I got to thinking, and God was just putting it on my heart, just about living in in the image of Christ is the right mind. It's not having all the money that you want. It's not being able to sin in peace if that's what your heart truly desires. Only God knows. But it's not that. It's not having tests and trials, or everything in your life is like just perfect all the time. That's insane thinking, to think that that is being in your right mind. And so when I was, just talking to God about what is being in our right mind, he was just reminding me that it's your willingness to seek after him so you can be conformed into the way that he wants us to think. So he wants us to think heavenly, but we have to seek after him. All the things and thoughts that we battle each and every day, we have to seek after God hourly. We have to seek after God for the willingness, like, even to have the willingness to want our thoughts and our minds to be transformed, but not just so much in a worldly way, being in your right mind. And so I was also thinking, like, just by talking to God, I was just thinking, like, our right mind is being conformed to where we are not so easily susceptible to sinning, to not being able to fight our flesh. So I was looking at it in a natural perspective at first, but spiritually, I'm thinking being in our right mind as well is resisting temptation. Being in our right mind as well is repenting. Not just keeping on going, doing the same thing and expecting a different result, but also still expecting to have peace and love and joy and all of those things when you are bound by sins, or you want to be bound by sin, even after God has delivered you from certain things. And so, it's like two different perspectives to your right mind. There's the our perspective, our worldly perspective of being in our right mind is like, we're good, like your bills are paid, the kids are doing okay, everything's pretty cool with the kids, family's okay, all the things, finances are okay, like life's just okay, like you don't really have any concerns. But truly being in our right mind is allowing God to conform our change our way of thinking so that we don't conform to the ways of the world. And so one of the ways that I choose to continuously allow God to conform or change my way of thinking so I don't conform is to remind myself of who he is in my life, and reminding myself that he is my keeper. And even though these dark thoughts try to plague my mind, even though I'm experiencing mind battles, I still know enough about my creator to know that these are not kingdom things. And so it would lead me to believe that I would have to continuously seek after him so that I would know better how to train my mind to practice kingdom thinking so that I don't so easily slip into depression, or I'm not so easily um, overtaken by that anxiety. When it does try to bother my mind, I'm not going to give in to what the enemy is trying to plague my mind with. And, just seeking God to gain wisdom, um, just wisdom on what he wants us to think. There's so many instructions in the word about our thinking, like the things that he commands us to think. And so we would have to go and seek him, and we would have to get in our word and get to know God on an intimate level instead of a surface level knowing him and having what we consider in the world a right mind. Um So I didn't really have much this week. That's really all I had, was thanking God for a right mind, but also still making sure that I have a desire to spiritually be in my right mind as well, not just in the natural where things are okay for everybody, things are just normal, but to also spiritually, so that my natural life can actually be to where I'm in my right mind, because they are equal spiritually and naturally. And so I just want to thank God that He reminds me, even in those times that I'm like, oh, well, at least I'm in my right mind. He reminds me in very subtle ways, just how He has preserved me when that worked. And then how, as I'm supposed to mature, how He wants me to think of being in my right mind. So then I'm thinking that if He is putting this on my heart to think about, then He wants me to also think of not just being in my right mind where I can resist temptation a little bit and I can fight off anxiety and fight off depression, but so much so that I would be in my right mind to want to seek Him and want to get to know Him more, because that is the true right mind. Is to have a desire to get to know Him, to spread the gospel, to be good to people, the whole spill. But that's the true right mind that we're supposed to be in, to be swift to practice our fruits and not have to um convince ourselves that oh, I'm going to practice my fruit, like not to have to force ourselves or try to hard down convince ourselves to practice our fruits, but we just easily do it because we are in our right mind spiritually as well. And so, this week just practice kingdom thinking, especially when it comes to, I've just heard a lot of people recently talking about anxiety, especially when it comes to the enemy trying to plague your mind with anxiety or depression, some people sickness even. And just so in those times that, and I've personally experienced all of them, all the things like, sickness, depression, anxiety, anger, bitterness, all the whole spill. Like I personally had my own little cocktail of sin that I needed to be forgiven for. And so just this week, practice kingdom thinking. When the enemy tries to plague your mind, go to the creator, go to your source, which should be this. And I'm talking to myself. Go to your source and remember who the creator is. Remember who He has called you to be. And if you don't know, keep seeking Him. Just keep having that desire to get to know Him and who He is and what He does and how He designed us. And He will slowly but surely, He will conform you. He will change your way of thinking to where you won't be so easily conformed to the way. Anxiety is a way of the world. Depression is all a way of the world, and so we have to be more aggressive about getting to know God and who He is and how He designed us, so that we may be able to have a greater strength to fight off those things. Also that He would give us strength, a new strength. We have to seek Him for new strength, especially when it's a level of depression or anxiety or sickness or a life circumstance that you haven't dealt with before. Then you would need to seek Him to get to know His idea better, so that you can fight better, so that you can obtain more strength. But the strength is going to come through seeking Him and, being humble enough to admit that, God, I don't have the strength for this. I don't know what this season or this situation is going to turn out like or look like, or I don't even know how to handle the situation. But we still have to seek Him in order to get the answer to some of these things. In order to be in our right mind, we have to seek God. And I thank Him that even in those times that I don't do the right thing or I don't seek Him as much as I should, I thank God that in those times He continuously covers me. And I thank Him that He preserves my soul. And I just pray that I can get it right, that we all can get it right, and that we would not allow the enemy to take over our minds, because it's just like, if he's kept us from all, like, just think of all the things that should have claimed your life, that should have claimed your sanity up until this point, even if it's something that you're currently going through. If he allows you to keep waking up and to keep trying again and trying again, he has to have a greater plan than anything that we're currently facing. Obviously God has a better plan, and he wants us to see those tests and trials through so that we can obtain wisdom again to be in our right mind. So I thank God this week for, or today, for where I'm already at in my right mind, and I pray that he would give me increase in continuing to be transformed in the mind, to be more like him, to have more of a Christ-like desire of being right in my right mind. And so being in your right mind in any sense is a blessing. And I thank God that some of us are, and that we are well enough to be able to be a witness to others and to let others know that this too shall pass. No matter what you're going through, it too shall pass. And it may not work how you want. Think of all the outcomes that could happen, and God's will is still going to be done. And so seek him for what you're going through, what you're experiencing, and so that you may have clarity and that you may have vision in whatever it is that he is trying to show you, or whatever it is that he's trying to teach you. And for those who are in their right mind spiritually, and you maybe see or know people that are not, share with them how they can be in their right mind, because I don't think that we understand how much being in our right mind is a privilege of of life. Like, it is a literal privilege to be in your right mind, to be stable, and to not have to fight off these certain things that we've been talking about. Is definitely a privilege. And so share some of the goodness of God with someone else. If you've learned to fight anxiety and depression, and you've learned to overcome, and you've learned enough about God, and just how he's designed us in order to be able to help someone else, share with someone else how you've sought after God, and how you got closer, or how you overcame some of these things that the enemy tries to use. Because that's all they are, tricks and schemes to get us off of our focus. Because God knows the plans that he has for us. He has plans to prosper and not to harm us. So anything that we are facing has purpose. And so remember that this week. Thank God when you are in your right mind. Thank him. When you're in your right mind, thank him. And even if you're not in your right mind and you can find the strength, still thank him, because it's gonna lead you to somewhere. You'll gain wisdom when you make it through this. When you make it through, you will surely gain wisdom. There will be a reward of wisdom on the other side. And so be encouraged this week. Again, make sure we have an attitude of gratitude. I'm going to do better myself, not complaining, and just thanking God that my mind is functioning well enough to have the desire to be closer to him and to get to know him better. So y'all stay prayed up. Life been lifing on a little bit of everybody, so you guys stay prayed up. Make sure you read your word this week. Talking to myself again. Make sure you get in your word and seek God for all of the things of this week. Seek God prematurely for things that you may not even know are going to happen, but seek him for being in our right minds this week, and that we will continue to increase and be great. So until next time, you all stay prayed up. Have a good week.